Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and a review of three weapon lights by Olight. Baldr Mini. This is a 600 lumen light with 130 meter throw. The next one we're going to be reviewing is the Baldr S. It's a little bit bigger, 130 meter throw as well, but it's an 800 lumen light. And then finally we're going to be reviewing the Baldr IR. This is a 1,350 lumen light with a 260 meter throw. These are all part of the Baldr series. These are the three lights we'll be reviewing in this lineup to see what the pros and cons are of each. They're a little bit different in price-wise, ranging from the bottom up to the more expensive one. Try and figure out their differences and which one might be right for you. I'm going to be using one of these on my backup handgun, and I want to figure out which one is best to put on that handgun. Let's open these up, put them side by side, and see which light comes out on top. Let's start out with the Baldr Mini. This is the smallest of all the lights. Like I said, it's a 600 lumen light with 130 meter throw. That's about 142 yards for those of you wanting to know it in yards. Let's open this up and see what's inside. Like I said, I've not opened this up yet. I've not even owned an Olight light before, so this is kind of a first time experience for me. I've heard a lot about them, but I've never actually owned one before. You can see right here, it says, congratulations on your new Baldr Mini. Increase your accuracy, not only in the range, but when your life depends on it. It's actually pretty good slogan there. You open this up. There's a pamphlet inside, this little pull tab here. And then we have the charger. This is a magnetic charger that goes on the back of the light. We're going to set this aside right here. And then if you flip it over this way, we have the light. I'm actually surprised that did not fall out when I just did that. And this is what we actually have. Now, one of the really, really cool things I like about this light, or there's a few things I like about it versus some of the other lights that I have and use. Let's get this in focus right here. Is that it has a quick release system. So this is a quick release right here. It slides on and off the rail of your gun. And then it also slides back and forth. Oops, I guess it slides off as well. Back and forth like this, you get the exact fit however close you want it to your trigger guard, and then you can go ahead and lock that in place, and it's really, really easy to take off. The other lights that I have, the one I'm currently using, you screw it down in place, it's locked in there tight, but it's not easy to take on and off or to make fine-tune adjustments like this, so I like that. Another thing Olight does well is, everyone loves them for it, is their magnetic charger, where you can keep it attached to your weapon, slap that on there, plug it into any USB port, and it's going to charge up that light. No need to swap out batteries. You don't even need to take off the light to replace the battery like you do in most handguns. And it's just more convenient. A lot of lights that I have attached to guns, I don't take off and replace the batteries very frequently because it's just difficult to do. Having something like this is easy to every once in a while throw on a charger, make sure it's charged up, and then take it off and not have to worry about any other maintenance to do with the light. Now, one cool thing also about the Olights is, I didn't even know at first about these, is that most of them have a laser inside of it as well. It's hidden in this housing. You can see that right here. Let's get that in focus there. Right above the actual LED, there's a spot for a green laser, and you can switch through the various settings. If I tap this button on the back right now, ooh, that's bright. Let's put this down like this. Tap on the back. It's going to be the brightest setting, and then it's going to be off. The Baldr Mini only has one setting for light, so it's on or off. So this is how the Olight operates. All of them are very similar in how they operate. Back here on the back, there is a little slider where you can select the different modes the light is in. The middle is going to be a light plus the laser. You can slide this over and just do the light, or you can slide it all the way over that direction and have it be just the laser. So like, put on just the laser and tap the button right here. Oh. You can see the laser light right here. I'm going to put this down here. You can see that. If I hold this in, it's just going to stay on so long as I'm holding it. Then I can let it go and it's going to turn off. If I tap it once quickly, it's going to leave it in the on setting. This is the same thing for the light. If I switch it all the way over here to the light, I can tap it once. It's going to stay on like this. I can tap it again, it'll turn off, or if I hold it down, it'll stay on so long as I'm holding it. Then I can release it. So one quick tap puts it on. If you hold it down, it's only going to stay as long as you are holding it. Now, granted, with the exposure and everything in the camera, I doubt you can see the light and the laser together because it's hard even for me to see sitting right here. But this is the middle setting right here, and right here there is a laser. It's difficult to see even right now because of how bright this light is. So I'm curious, with some real world testing out at a little distance, how easy it is to actually see that laser when you've got the light. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of lasers on my tactical lights, so I'd probably leave this in the off setting. Or maybe I'd put it on and zero it in case I ever wanted to use it. I'd have that option. But normally I have it in just the light setting for any of my lights that have a laser in them as well. So this is the Baldr Mini. Let's compare it to the other two that I have in this lineup. And then see kind of how they compare to each other when they're all out of the box. So we'll leave that one right here. We'll set this stuff aside. The Baldr S next. This is an 800 lumen. Same throw as the Baldr Mini though. So I'm assuming it's going to be very similar unboxing to the last one. Same pull tab. Same message. Pull it off. We've got the charger right here again. And then flip it over, and we have the actual light right here. Same quick release housing as the last one. Same LED with the laser inside. Same selector and everything. It's just the profile of this is a little bit different. It's a little bit bigger. You can see it kind of compared side by side here at the Mini. Let's get these backs lined up pretty closely. And you can see it's just barely bigger. It's really not that much bigger at all, but it does have a little bit of a different profile. You can see the lines are a little bit different on the side, sticks out a little bit further. But everything else, as far as the button placements, is the exact same. The housing is the same size on both of these, as you can see right here. And actually the width is about the same, or the height from top to bottom is about the same on both these as well. The only difference is the length, and it's just ever so slightly smaller on the Mini, but you also get the downside of having a fewer lumens on this light. Now we can discuss lumens in a minute and how they might not be as important as people think, but for right now, we'll say this is 600, this is 800, and that's pretty much the main benefit you're getting for going with a slightly larger light. One thing that this does have that the Mini does not is the ability to change the light settings right here. So that's high. We can hit it again, it's going to go off, and it's going to remember what you put on last. So if I click it here, it's going to go on high. I can turn it off. If I double tap it, it's going to go back to the low setting. So this is one of the biggest differences is you have a low light setting, which I believe is rated at 100 lumens, and then the higher light setting is full blast at the 800 lumen mark. Right now it's on the middle setting right here, so we have laser plus the light, and of course, just like the last one, I can switch that back and forth up here and change what that is actually selecting. That's all laser. Now I can switch it back and I shine the light right in my face. There we go. And that's turned off right there. Same charging, same everything else. So the two benefits you're getting with this is a slightly larger lumen output, but also you can switch between a low and high setting, whereas you are stuck with the high setting on the Baldr Mini. I will verify that real fast, though. I'll double tap this. Yeah, it's just the one light setting for the Baldr Mini. The Baldr S gives you that variable option right there in a slightly larger case, but really, like I showed you, it's not that much bigger at all. They're still very, very similar in overall size. It's pretty much by the size of maybe even half of this extension right here. It's not even a full extension when they're lined up perfectly on the back. It's, yeah, maybe about half that. So it's not that much bigger. Now, if we're going to go to the last one, which is the most different out of all three of these, let's set these right here. All right, so this one is the Baldr IR. This has an infrared laser in it versus the normal green lasers like these do. We can talk about that more in a second, but it has 1,350 lumen and then 260 meter throw. So this is a lot bigger, a lot more powerful, and you have the IR laser in there as well. Let's open this up. Well, actually the unboxing is a little bit different than this. It says, read me. Before use, please open the tail cap as shown in the picture, remove the insulating film, and then close the tail cap. So it says something a little bit different there. If we open this up, the casing is actually completely different inside here. We have the main light right here. We'll remove this for a second. And then back here, we have the instruction manual, and it looks like some spare parts of some sort in there. I'll take a look at those in a moment, but we'll set that aside. So one thing you'll notice with this light right away is that it does not have the quick recharging like the other light does. So we pull that tab in the back right there. It opens up. This little film that they talked about comes out, and then it reveals the two batteries inside. Both of these batteries Let's see if this will focus right here. Our Olight 3-volt 1600 milliamp hour batteries. They are the CR123A lithium batteries. There's 2 of these, like I said, inside of there. Positive is up on this side. Negative is down. Let's see if that's actually right. Push this down. It should snap back into place there. All right, we got that shut. That was, so just so you guys know, when you open this back up, there's a little latch right here on the back. It says pull to open. So when you open that, it latches back shut. So it just springs out, springs back in. This opens, allows you to adjust the batteries. It will not close if the batteries are the opposite direction. I switched the batteries right here, and it won't even close like this either. You have to pop this back open, even though it automatically shuts. Then it's going to stay open like this. You can then push down and then use your other finger to lock that in place, and that actually locks the housing for the light right here. So you can see down here we have the infrared laser and the white light selection. So you can see right here, so I can switch it to infrared, or I can switch it to the light, or I can switch it to off. You do not have the option for both of those, as the point of the infrared laser is to be used with a night vision system. The goal is to not be able to see it with the naked eye, so there'd be no use for you to have it with the light as well. So it's off, infrared, or white light on. If I go down here and push one of these side activators right here, it's off position, so nothing's going to happen. If I switch it over to the white light, we can see it'll go on. And then if I double tap it, it goes down to another setting. And this has a memory as well, so it remembers what you left it on. So for right now, it's the low setting. If I tap this, it's going to turn off. If I tap it again, it's going to turn on back at the low setting. If I double tap this, turn back on bright, then tap it once, it's going to turn off and remember I was on bright and go back to bright just like that. Again, this is, if I hold it down, it's going to stay on for as long as I'm holding it, then I can release and it'll turn off. If I tap it once quickly, it's going to stay in the on position. If I switch this to infrared, which is on right now, so this is the off, I can switch to infrared, we're not going to see anything, even with the camera. Sometimes cameras can pick up infrared light. We're not going to be seeing anything right now with this camera. I will figure out a way to review this so we can actually see this light. But that's the benefit of infrared lasers, is that they're seen with night vision. They're not seen with the naked eye. They're not seen normally on most security cameras, although security cameras do have infrared sometimes. So I'm actually going to use this later on. We have the wireless Wise cameras from Amazon. We use those outside for some security. We use those in our baby's bedroom to monitor her, stuff like that. So those actually emit infrared, and you can actually hear with those cameras, if you have one of those Wise cameras, if you turn out the light, you'll hear a little click on the light. And what that's doing is it's taking off the infrared lens that covers the light so it can see infrared light. And that's how it has the night vision effect on those cameras. So I'm going to test out tonight and see if this will actually be able to be picked up by that camera. I can record that camera and I'll play it back here to see if we can actually get a glimpse of this infrared laser. Now, here's why I think this is more practical than something like this as far as the laser is concerned. We'll talk about size in a second because obviously there's a very big size difference here. So just the way I shoot, I don't think a laser is as practical for me, the green laser like these emit, because it's just not my style of shooting. If I'm using my iron sights, I'm looking and focusing on my iron sights, the target a little bit blurry in the background. Or if I'm using a red dot sight, I'm looking through to my target and lining up that red dot with the target. I'm not ever trying to look for a small little laser light appearing on the target itself. Some people might be accustomed to shooting that way and think it's easier for them or faster for them. I personally think it's better to be able to line up on the iron sights, and that's where your eyes immediately go, or line up to that red dot sight versus trying to find a laser. Because if that's your main way of shooting and somehow that fails or that goes out, it completely changes what you'll be able to do, how quickly and how effective you will be. So I don't like green lasers specifically, or red lasers for that matter. For that reason, I find it better to have a light so you can actually see at nighttime and then be able to shoot off a red dot sight or an iron sight. Or even better, be able to use your iron sights as a backup if your red dot is not working for whatever reason. Now, I do like this infrared option. I do not currently have a night vision setup, but I like that this could be put on a larger, it's definitely not as small as these. There's going to be a reason you might want to choose this over this, or definitely one of these over this. But if I was wanting to use a light this big, I really, really like the option that it has infrared on here. It kind of future-proofs it for me in a sense where I'm not going to normally be shooting with a green laser or red laser. So that's an option I wouldn't normally use. And granted, with this right now, all I would be using is the light on it. But in the future, if I want to upgrade and actually get a night vision setup, I have the option right away to be able to use that night vision setup with an infrared laser like this and the light. I don't have to switch anything out. It basically is future-proofs those plans. If I ever do get a night vision setup, I have a light that's capable of it, and it's a situation I would actually use it in, where infrared is something you can use at nighttime to much more easily see where you're shooting versus the normal green and red lasers you use during the day. So I do like that, even though I wouldn't be using it right now. I like that option to be able to use that in the future. And right now, I'd probably have it just set to the normal light setting, and that would be good enough for me. I like the power of this light as well, the 1300 lumens. But let's go back over the size. So really what you'd be considering, if you're considering this, you're not considering this because of its small size. You're considering it because of its power. It is very durably built. Granted, all of these are durable, but there's just a heft to this one that you can feel. This thing would take a lot more abuse than these would. I do like these are rechargeable. I really, really like that feature on here. I wish this had some way to easily recharge. Now, granted, I know with the way they set up the back right here, nothing would fit on there. If it's on the rail right now, you're not going to be able to put anything on the bottom. And then it's got this housing here for the infrared laser, which prevents it from putting it on the bottom like they have with these lights. So I realized there was not a good spot for them to put that wireless charge on here, which is probably why it went with the batteries instead. But these batteries last a long time. I've used these with other lights before, and I know that, so they're reliable. They last a long time, and they're also very readily available on Amazon. You can get them the next day, nearly wherever you live. Now, this does have the quick release like these two smaller ones do, but it does not have the sliding rail like the other ones do. So you're stuck at this rail position. You can slide it back and forth on the gun, but then it's going to lock in place. If you are on a handgun with this, if you're trying to put this on a handgun, most likely you're not even going to be able to move it back around very much because it's so big. It's going to be put in one spot. You're going to clamp it on, and you're kind of stuck with it in that position. These ones have a lot more customizability to them, even though they're pretty much the same size. I'm not quite sure what their main goal was with the two different sizes of these, since they're so remarkably similar. I personally lean towards the S because it's really not that much bigger, and you get the extra lumen power with it, and you get, most importantly, the higher beam setting and the lower beam setting. For lumens on lights like this, I don't think they're quite as important as people think, because if you're using this in a, let's say, home defense situation, it's pitch black in your house, you all of a sudden have to use a light on your weapon to identify a potential target or threat. You're not going to want to blind yourself in the process. Even if you're pointing this away from yourself, if you're immediately going from pitch black darkness to 1300 lumens, granted, it'll do more damage to whatever you're pointing it at as far as affecting their night vision, but it's also going to affect your night vision as well. And so sometimes having a lower beam setting, especially if you're coming in pitch black darkness and suddenly throwing light in there, I think is more than effective at identifying something and being able to take action on what you're identifying versus potentially messing up your night vision and blinding yourself in the process with a much more powerful light, which is why I like the option to tone this one down. This is the Baldr S, and you can have a lower light setting, leave it there, and if for some reason you need a higher light setting, you can tap that twice and you're instantly at a higher brightness. So for a normal handgun, a daily carry, something for home defense, I really, really like this Baldr S. The Baldr Mini, it is a little smaller. It's built just as well. You can tell it pretty much has all the same features, except for the size difference, which is barely anything, and the weight difference, which is also portions of a gram. It's not different at all. Let me see actually real fast. I'll tell you exactly what the different weights are on these, because I know they're not very different. I can't even feel a difference holding it in my hand. So the Baldr Mini is 3.07 ounces, and the Baldr S weighs in at 3.35. So it's 3.35 compared to 3.07. So zero point 0.3 ounces. That actually is more of a difference than I was expecting it to be. I can barely even feel that though, holding it in my hands. So to me, that weight difference wouldn't be big enough to justify getting the Mini over the S. I personally see a lot more benefit going with the S because it's got, like I said, the adjustable beam. It's barely any bit bigger at all, and it has a slightly higher lumen output if you want that. Now, granted, if you're wanting a more all-around light, something that has the adjustability of the beam brightness, it has a very long-lasting battery, it's built extremely well, and you have the option, if you have a night vision setup or plan to potentially in the future, have an infrared laser on there. I think this one is tough to go wrong with. This is a larger light, especially if you're trying to do this on a daily carry pistol. But if this is what you're looking for, if you're looking for the best of the best as far as brightness goes, durability, and how long it lasts, this, you can't really go wrong with this. Like I said, you're in a different market if you're getting something like the Baldr IR than you are if you're getting something like these Olights, the Mini or the S. So let's throw these on a pistol. Let's see what these actually look like. I'll compare these to my current weapon light I have on my daily carry, and we can kind of see what those differences look like there. All right, so I've got some guns here for us to test these lights out on, see how they look. So this is my typical daily carry right here. On this one, I have the TLR 7A Streamlight. I've used this light for quite a while, and I like it. And just for everyone out there that I know is going to be commenting on this, nothing in the magazine, nothing in the chamber, and it's pointed in a safe direction, so we're all good there. But well, let's leave this in there right now. So this is the TLR 7A, the Streamlight. It works well. I have a custom holster for it, so I'm not going to be changing this out right away because I like it. It works well. It's a 500 lumen light. Now, like I said, some of the downsides about this light is that you have to unscrew this front cap right here to get access to the batteries and to be able to change that out. And you also have to have a screwdriver right here to even take it on and off and adjust it on the gun. Now, I like these buttons back here by the rail. I like to use my forward thumb to be able to tap those buttons on and off. And not interfere with my trigger finger over here at all. I have this forward thumb. I can just barely brush down, turn on, and come back up, and then it can rest back here on the side of my gun. So I like these closer to the trigger guard. I know some people like them up further. It probably depends on where your thumb is typically sitting on your gun. Some people are way up here. Some people are further back here. I'm normally right here in the middle, and I can tap that with the bottom of my thumb. So let's take this off. We're going to put the other ones on this gun. For those wondering, this is the War Poet by Shadow Systems. It's an MR920, just modified as the War Poet edition. So I'm going to take this off with the screwdriver, loosen that up. There we go. So got this off. That's a good example right there. This is not an instant thing to get on and off. Granted, once it's on, it's locked in place well. But this only has one way to adjust. So you can see there's the indent right here at the top of this. This is the TLR 7. Lines up with the indent on the bottom of the gun. So this is going to sit right there, and it's not going to change. You can't adjust this backwards and forwards. So let's take that back off, and let's put on the Mini first. So we're going to set this holster aside. We're going to grab the Mini. We're going to open up the quick release right here. And then we're going to slide this onto the gun. Let's actually loosen this a little bit. There we go. So that clips into place right there. Now this can slide forward and backwards on this rail. So if you look right here, the rail itself is locked into place by that little divot, same one the TLR 7 had, but the light is not attached to that. It's not part of the light case. So this can come all the way back here, similar to how it's set up with the TLR 7A. Or if I want to, I can move this up all the way. Technically, I could move it way up here if I want to and have it way, way out in the front right here. That's too far for me, for my liking. But I do like that I can have it way back here if I want to. And then I can lock this in place. It's tight, but that's good because it's going to stay in the same spot. And then this is extremely stable. I'm not getting this movement at all. There's no back and forth movement, side to side movement. That's extremely stable on there. And I can use that bottom thumb, push the light on and off just like I could with the TLR7. I'll actually move this forward a little bit. Maybe 1 or 2 clicks there. And then I can turn that on and off. Granted, I don't know if you can see this on the camera very well, but with that TLR7A, I barely had to move my thumb down, and it was on top of the button. The button was closer up here. This one, because it has the adjustable rail, the light is actually further down. So this button has a longer reach for my thumb. My thumb's all the way down here to turn it on and off versus just barely coming down. I personally like it a little bit higher, but I know this could I could get used to this, I should say. So it's not a deal breaker, but I do like that it is adjustable. It's nice that depending on what your shooting comfort is, how far you want it, how close you want it, you can quickly do that. And then, like tests like this, I can just take this right back off. Actually, the entire light came off right there. And then we can try one of these other lights. Let me put this back on. Slide that back in, put the locking mechanism down, and then we're going to go with the Baldr S, slightly bigger. Remember, this one's 800 lumens versus the 600 on the one we just tested. We're going to lock that in place, and you can see, same as the other one, there's actually, it's interesting, right here, there is a slight movement back and forth. I'm not sure if you can hear this. It actually is wiggling back and forth a little bit, but let's loosen this. Let's slide this back similar to how the other one was. We'll lock that back in place. And then we have this on the side of the gun. Again, it's barely sticking out any further than the last one is because it's barely any thicker than the last one is. Still have the light, same spot. It's moved down because the rail is up there. But same thing, adjustable. Everything else feels the exact same about this light. You can adjust this back and forth just as easily as the Mini. You just have the extra option of the higher lumens, the 2 different beams, and everything else is nearly identical. So let's take this back off and see what the larger Baldr IR looks like on here. So if we open this up here, slide this on, it actually locks into place right there, and then put this on there. That is what this looks like. Now, this is not going to have adjustability. This is going to be just like it is right here. Now, this doesn't go down. These buttons go in. So if you look right here, these don't go down like this. They only go in. So you're pushing these on or pushing these off to turn on or off the light. Right now, I have it off, so let's switch that on. You're pushing down. You're not pushing this direction like you can with the other lights. So with these right here, you can go down. Actually, turn this direction. You can push it down, and that's what's activating the light. With this one right here, it's just the side. So you're going to push on the side of this light. Now, you can push with either hand, but I always do my thumb. You can still go down. It's still very similar motion, but you're not pushing down necessarily. You're pushing in. So I kind of do like the down motion better. It's a little more natural. The thumb's coming down to push down, but if you push hard enough, it's still going on and off just like this. So you can still have it, turn it on, turn it off. It's not quite as smooth as the other ones are though, but they are a lot bigger. It's a lot harder target to miss. And of course, as both of these, you can have them on both sides of the weapon here. Then I can switch that back in the off position. I do like that it has an off position. It's easy to put it somewhere and not worry about it draining the battery. Although, if you're trying to get to this quickly, you might not remember to switch that to the on position if you'd happen to leave it in the off position. So there's pros and cons to that. These do not have an off position. They have a both and or a laser or a light. You cannot turn it into an off position. If you click this button, it will turn on. This one is a little different. Like I said, there's pros and cons to that. But if this, like I said, is a very different market, if you're in the market for a large, heavy-duty, infrared-capable light with a high lumen output, you can't beat this. But if you're wanting something for everyday carry, I know some people would everyday carry something like this. This is a little bit too big for me. I like the more compact nature the other 2 lights provide, something like the TLR7A. So I'd personally go with more of the Baldr S right here. Undo this. Put this back on. Lock that in place. And then we have that on there. And that looks pretty good right there on the gun. can see what it looks like up here. So one of the rare times you can actually look into the barrel of a gun because no one's physically looking into it. You can see how that looks on all sides of the gun. Now, just for comparison, let's open this up. Let's slide this in the all the way back position. I'm going to lock this back off. Then we're going to get the Baldr Mini, open this up, and we're going to put it on this gun. Gun's slightly smaller, but it still works as a comparison. Let's get this lined up and on there. I'm going to slide this one all the way back and then see what these look like side by side. So if I have these right here, you can tell pretty easily here because the Baldr S, the larger one, is on the larger weapon. The Baldr Mini's down here, so I think that makes it look a little bit more of a difference than it actually is. Let's put these head to head like this. And you can see the differences there. I will admit they look more pronounced at this view right here, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to switch this one with this and this one with this and see if it's just the size of the weapons that are making these look so much different in size and appearance right now, or if there's actually more of a difference than it appears when they're off the weapon. So let's take this off. And again, nothing in the magazine, nothing in the chamber. This gun, safe as well. And this one actually has a safety, so the safety is on this gun as well. Put this back on, slide it in the back position, lock that in place, put these back here, and you can definitely tell right away which is the Baldr S. Even in this orientation, it actually might even make it look bigger this way than it did before. You are sticking out by not quite the full width of this lens right here, but about a quarter of that. So it is longer in length. It is 0.3, a little under actually, 0.3 ounces heavier. You're just getting those two extra features for it. So if you're absolutely wanting the smallest, lowest profile thing to carry, you're not worried about having an adjustable beam, and the 600 lumens is more than enough for you, then this one is just fine. Granted, the one I'm carrying every single day is a little bigger than the Mini right here, and it's only 500 lumens. It's not rechargeable, and it's fixed on the gun. So I can see some major benefits with going, even with the Mini, if you're going from something like this. Granted, I still love the build quality of this. My holster is made for this, so I'm not going to be changing this right away. But when it does come trying to change this one day, or I get another daily carry gun, I definitely consider switching from this to something like this if I'm wanting something the smallest it can be. If I'm using this as a two-purpose thing, let's say I want this as just a daily carry, concealed carry, but I also want to have this by my bed to use at nighttime, maybe that's a time you consider something a little larger like this, have more options with a higher lumen beam, be able to switch it down. You have the laser on here as well for those of you who want to use it, and just a slightly bigger case. Both of these you can charge on the bottom. We can grab one of these chargers, clip it there, charge it up when it's not in use, and then pull that right back off, which is a major benefit, especially if it's something that's by your bedside, something you're using for home defense. You normally have USBs and chargers right next to your bed, so it's easy to charge that up every once in a while, every couple months, throw it on for a little while, even if you haven't used it, just to keep that battery topped off, and then you can go from there. So those are the three lights. Take these back off, put them side by side one last time. We've got the Mini, we've got the S, and then we've got the IR. And then just for a comparison, this is the TLR-7A over here. It's bigger than both of these, actually. Both of the S's, just barely bigger than the S, but it is a little bit bigger than the S, and it's definitely bigger than the Mini. And of course, it's smaller by a substantial amount than the IR. All right, here is the view of the Baldr Mini at night. This is the Baldr S on high beam at 800 lumens. And then here is the 300 lumen low beam for the Baldr S. I said 100 lumens earlier, it's actually 300. And then here's the IR on low beam. It's also 300 lumens for the low beam on the Baldr IR. And then here's the high beam at a full 1,350 lumens. And then finally, here's that WISE camera. Here's the IR laser. This could not be seen by the naked eye. It could have not see this at all. This is only a recording from the camera that's a little bit low quality, but you can actually see the laser in this camera, which is kind of cool. So let me know what you'd like to see reviewed, and I will get some review videos, ups of those, some unboxings of some new items coming through. But thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more reviews just like this, and I'll see you guys next time.